Let me ask you something. When did you stop believing your best chapter was still ahead of you? Maybe it was gradual. Your kids left home, your career plateaued, your body started asking for things you didn't have time to give. And at some point, quietly, without anyone making an announcement, you started operating as if the most meaningful parts of your life were already behind you. If any part of you just exhaled a little, stay with me. Because I am a neuropsychologist, and what I am about to share with you today isn't motivational fluff. It's neuroscience. It's biology. And it is going to change the way you understand what is actually happening in your brain right now and what you're actually capable of. The title of this video is The Neuroscience of Purpose: Why Your Brain is Wired for a Second Act. And I mean every word of that. Your brain, the one you are living in right now, is not winding down. It is waiting. Before we go any further, let me introduce myself, because who I am matters for what I am about to tell you. My name is Dr. Celeste Campbell. I'm a neuropsychologist, and I have spent decades studying how the brain works, how it heals, and how it changes. I've worked with stroke survivors, TBI patients, people rebuilding their minds and their lives from the inside out. And then I became one of my own clients. A few years ago, I hit a wall, total burnout, and a life that had quietly become a monotonous loop of professional obligations and responsibility. My daughters had grown up and launched their own lives, and I remember lying in bed one night crying, the kind of deep, soul-wrenching sobs that come from completely feeling lost, and asking myself, when was the last time I generally lit up about anything? When had I last felt real excitement about my own life? I was a psychologist. I had helped hundreds of people rebuild their lives, and I could not figure out how to rebuild my own. That night, I heard a quiet voice say, maybe it's time to start your art. I'll come back to what that meant and what it led to. But first, I want to give you the science, because once you understand what is actually happening in your brain at this stage of life, everything changes. Here is the lie our culture tells women over 50. You had your shot. Now it's time to support other people's dreams. Wind down, settle, accept where you are. This is not just wrong. It is neurologically backward. The research doesn't support this narrative, not even a little. In fact, what neuroscience tells us is that the brain changes you go through in midlife and beyond, the ones our culture labels as slowing down, are actually sophisticated upgrades. Your brain is not deteriorating, it is reorganizing. And those reorganizations make you, right now, in this season of your life, uniquely positioned to pursue purpose in ways that younger versions of yourself literally could not. Let me show you exactly what I mean. The first thing I want you to understand is neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to change, to form new neural pathways, to literally rewire itself based on what you think, experience, and do. Here's what most people get wrong about neuroplasticity. They think it's something that happens in childhood and then stops. That is not true. Your brain retains the ability for new connections throughout your entire life. Every thought you think strengthens a neural pathway. Every new behavior you practice begins building a new one. Every experience you have that carries emotional weight gets encoded, sometimes permanently, in your brain's architecture. This means that the life you are building right now, the habits, the beliefs, the choices, the identity you are constructing in this season is literally reshaping your brain. You are not a fixed identity watching the clock. You are a dynamic, changing biological system that responds to what you feed it. The question is not whether your brain is changing. The question is, what are you changing it into? Here is something the research has revealed that genuinely excites me as a neuropsychologist. In our 20s and 30s, our brains are optimized for speed, fast processing, quick decisions, pattern recognition with established systems. It's efficient. but it's also narrow. As we move into our 40s, 50s, and beyond, something remarkable happens. The brain begins integrating the two hemispheres more fluidly. Left brain, logic, analysis, sequential thinking, and right brain, intuition, creativity, big picture pattern recognition, begin working together more seamlessly than they ever did when we were young. Researchers call this bilateral integration, and what it produces is a type of wisdom, thinking that younger brains are neurologically incapable of. The ability to hold complexity, to see nuance, to connect ideas across domains, to know, deeply bodily know, when something is right or wrong, even before you can articulate why. Think about the women you know who seem to operate from a place of grounded clarity, who cut through noise to what matters, who build things that last because they've learned what actually works. That's not luck. That is a developed, integrated brain doing exactly what it was designed to do at this stage of life. You are not less capable than you were at 30. You are capable of different things, and in many ways, more important things. This piece is critical, so stay with me. Your brain has a reward circuit centered in a region called the nucleus accumbens that releases dopamine when you pursue something meaningful. When you are working toward a goal that feels aligned with your values and identity, your brain literally rewards you with neurochemicals that create energy, focus, motivation, and what researchers call positive affect, the experience of feeling genuinely alive. Here's the devastating thing that happens in burnout, in role identity fusion, in the slow drift of living for everyone else's expectations. That circuit goes quiet, not because it broke, because it was never being activated. The women who come to me feeling flat, purposeless, foggy, they often believe that something is wrong with them, that their best days are gone, that this is just what getting older feels like. What's actually happening is their brain's purpose circuit has been on standby for so long that they've forgotten what it feels like when it's firing. The research shows, and this is important, that purpose activation through meaningful pursuits restores this circuit, regardless of age. Women in their 50s, 60s, even 70s, who begin pursuing genuinely resonant goals, show measurable increases in dopaminergic activity, in executive function, in the kind of focused energy that our culture associates with youth. Your brain is not waiting for you to accept diminishment. It is waiting for a signal that you are ready to live. And now, the insight that changed my own life. Burnout is not just exhaustion. As a neuropsychologist, I can tell you that burnout is a state of chronic nervous system dysregulation, combined with a profound disconnect from your authentic self. It occurs when the demands placed on you consistently exceed your capacity to meet them, and it creates real, measurable changes in your brain. Your HPA axis, your stress response system, gets stuck in the on position. Your prefrontal cortex, the seat of decision-making and identity, goes offline, and you oscillate between fight or flight and total shutdown, with almost no access to the calm, connected state where creativity, joy, and purposeful action actually live. Here is what I discovered, both in the research and in my own life. The brain changes that happen after you move through burnout are not neutral. They are not just a return to baseline. The process of genuine recovery, when done intentionally, actually creates greater neural integration, stronger emotional regulation, and deeper access to your authentic self than existed before. In other words, the breaking open can become the breakthrough. Not automatically, not without intention, but with the right support and the right framework, and I built that framework specifically for women like you, the brain you have on the other side of burnout is more capable of purpose-driven living than the one that went in. I want to come back to that night I told you about, me in my bed, lost. I remembered a client I had worked with early in my career. She had a developmental disability and had been institutionalized for most of her life. When we helped her get her own apartment, her own space, her own life, she looked at us and declared with total certainty, "Now it is time for me to start my art." She became a painter. I watched her debut at a community art show, and I will never forget the look on her face. Lying in bed that night, crying, lost, that memory surfaced, and a quiet voice said, "Maybe it's time to start your art." I had spent decades being a psychologist, a mother, a professional, an expert. I had fused my identity so completely with those roles that when the roles shifted, when my daughters grew up, when burnout took what was left, I genuinely did not know who I was outside of what I did. So I became my own case study. I applied the same neuroplasticity principles I had used with TBI patients to my own life reconstruction. I began working with my nervous system instead of fighting it. I began asking, not what should I do, but what actually lights me up. 8 years later, my life is unrecognizable, in the best possible way. I transitioned from traditional psychology into life coaching and created the Soulfire Ignition Method. I launched an acting career, something I never imagined possible at this age. I've appeared on major streaming networks and won a regional theater award for Best Lead Actress. My daughters, now young adults, tell me they are inspired by what they see, not by my credentials, by my courage to start something new. I'm not telling you this to impress you. I'm telling you this because your brain is the same brain. And if neuroplasticity worked for me, it will work for you. Let me be totally clear and direct with you. You have been told by culture, by advertising, by the quiet accumulation of assumptions that this season of your life is one of diminishment, that reinvention is for younger people, that it's too late to start something new, build something meaningful, or pursue a dream that genuinely excites you. The neuroscience says otherwise. And here is why women over 50 are in many ways perfectly positioned for a second act. 1. You have developed bilateral brain integration that younger people haven't had time to build. You think in whole systems, you see patterns, you understand people. These are not soft advantages, they are neurological ones. 2. You have a wisdom library your younger self could never access. Decades of experience, failure, recovery, and growth have laid down neural pathways that make you genuinely better at navigating complexity, managing uncertainty, and knowing yourself. 3. Your identity is becoming available to you. The roles that consumed you, mother, caregiver, perfect professional, are shifting. That feels like loss, but it is also liberation. For possibly the first time in decades, you get to ask, who am I, and what do I actually want? 4. You have less tolerance for the wrong things, and that is a feature, not a bug. The burnout, the emptiness, the feeling that something is missing, that is your nervous system telling you the truth. It is not a malfunction, it is a signal, and your brain is primed to respond to that signal if you give it something worth responding to. 5. Neuroplasticity is still fully operational. The window has not closed. Your brain will build new pathways for whatever you consistently think, practice, and pursue, starting today. The second act is not a consolation prize. It is what your brain has been building toward all along. You are not late. You are ready. Here's what I know from working with women in exactly this place. Knowing the science is not enough. Feeling inspired is not enough. What you need is a nervous system that feels safe enough to change, an identity that is clear enough to direct you, and a practical framework that meets you where you actually are, not where you wish you were. That is exactly what I built with the Soulfire Ignition Method. It is a step-by-step system grounded in polyvagal theory, neuroplasticity, and trauma-informed healing. It starts with nervous system regulation, because your brain cannot access its second act from a state of chronic survival. Then it moves through energy archaeology, cognitive rewiring, life infrastructure, and sustainable thriving. It is not a course about positive thinking. It is a neurologically grounded method for rebuilding your life from the inside out, at the exact stage when your brain is most capable of making that rebuilding stick. I've linked it in the description below. If the science I shared today resonated, if the story I told sounded like yours, if there is any part of you that wonders whether your second act is still possible, I want you to take a look. Before I let you go, I want to leave you with one question to sit with today. Not what should you do, not how will you figure it out, just this. When was the last time you genuinely lit up about something that was entirely, unapologetically yours? If you can't answer that quickly, your nervous system has something to say, and it's worth listening to. If this video spoke to something in you, please hit subscribe. I post every week, and every video is built on the same foundation: real neuroscience, real stories, real tools for women who are done surviving and ready to ignite. Drop a comment below and tell me, what does your second act look like? I read every single one. And if you know a woman in your life who needs to hear this today, send it to her. This kind of permission is best shared. I'll see you next week. Reclaim, reimagine, reignite.